Today on an all-new Dr. Phil, he was a major league pitcher.
Richie only saw himself as a baseball player.
Now his family says he's a drunk.
He has insisted we not talk about alcohol, right?
He said, be careful what you say on that stage.
I do not think I'm an alcoholic.
Do you change when you drink?
I do not.
I hate her. I'm done with her.
My dad has told me to go myself. You're such a bitch.
You've been self-medicating with alcohol because your dream got ripped from you.
I'm not a drunkard.
What I've been seeing today is a shell of what he is. This is that bottom of the ninth, man. You got to do this.
Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
I try to be an emotional compass and point you in the right direction.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. From being a dominant pitcher on some of the most storied teams in the major leagues,
Lewis to the set, the 2-2 to Buhner, a curve,
to striking out some of the greatest players to ever wear a uniform.
And a 2-2 pitch to Edmonds. Got him.
He was the guy who gave it his all when the game was on the line.
Lewis's first major league hit, win the game in the 13th inning, 5-4.
Richie Lewis was a fiery competitor, a three-time All-American, Hall of Fame college pitcher, setting records that still stand today. He was even college roommates and close buddies with sports phenom Deion Sanders. He made it all the way to the majors, headlining the sports pages and signing his baseball cards for fans. But now Richie has new stats and a highlight reel that's not so flattering.
I'm not going to sit there and listen to that and have somebody sit there and talk behind me when I'm not even in the freaking room. And you're scared, bro. I'm scared. Yeah, I'm not scared enough to punch you in the face.
Why would you talk to him like that?
Richie's three children say their once celebrated father is now a drunk who is embarrassing the family and slowly killing himself with whiskey, beer, and pills.
I hate my drunk dad. I don't know my father as a sober, functioning person.
My dad knows he has an alcohol problem, but he chooses to drink anyway.
He is 100% embarrassment to the family. My dad's been drunk at so many different events. My high school graduation, his father's funeral. He's missed some of my really big games in high school, and instead he stayed home and decided to drink. Recently, he's been drinking about a water bottle full of whiskey throughout the whole day, and sometimes that's mixed with beer. Last month, I found him on his chair, unresponsive. That 3 minutes of me trying to wake him up were some of the scariest of my life.
We thought he was dead.
I'm so freaked out for him.
Something has to change, or your father's not going to be around for very much longer.
One time, I saw him wobble over and hit his head on the side of the fridge and fell to the floor. He just lay there with his eyes in the back of his head. When my dad gets drunk, he's been physical with me. He grabbed me by the throat and was like, "Don't ever size me up," and then threw me on the ground. He got right up in my face and chest bumped me.
I definitely feel like I could take my dad if I needed to.
One time, my dad looked me dead in the eye and said, "I cannot stand you. I hate you. I am disowning you. Like, you."
You say you hate Mackenzie? That's respectful? I think you need to start looking in the mirror.
It is sad knowing that your dad is going to kill himself slowly.
I just hate the person he becomes when he drinks. In my book, it's just a drawn-out suicide.
Andrea says the first time she realized Richie might have a problem with alcohol was actually the night before their wedding.
I realized that alcohol was a big problem for Richie at our rehearsal dinner because he drank so much that he mooned my mother. I stayed because I was hoping that with children, he would grow out of that behavior. In the last 22 years, our family has not had positive memories with Richie. My husband has told me that alcohol is his best friend.
And here's where Richie keeps his alcohol.
It was Halloween, and Richie was sitting in the lawn chair on our front lawn. He had thrown up, and he was just completely passed out. One time, the neighbors and I were out in the driveway, and he was literally sideways walking down the street. We had a couple over, and Richie had his head on the table and couldn't even talk. Richie has abused everyone in our family at some point. He was hospitalized for pancreatitis, and the pancreatitis is life-threatening, and even faced with that, he still continues to drink. I have had to completely detach emotionally from him because my heart breaks every day looking at him. The kids and I are spectators of this tragic scenario.
Richie flat out denies he's an alcoholic. He says, not true, absolutely not. He says his battle is with depression, not booze. And when he found out his family wrote to the show about him, he was not happy.
When he found out that I wrote into the show, he was furious.
I hate her. I can't stand her. She's trying to take me down.
He thinks that I have this agenda to take him down. If I didn't love my dad, I would just let him die.
He was looking at this as we were ganging up on him.
Rich, we love you, and that's the whole point of this whole thing.
It doesn't matter. You went about it the wrong way. I'm not going to sit there and listen to that and have somebody sit there and talk behind me when I'm not even in the freaking room.
Richie called a family meeting and said that we were supposed to only discuss depression and not bring up alcohol at all.
Go to a rehab facility. I don't need it.
I think Richie is going to try to outsmart Dr. Phill.
When Dr. Phill challenges my dad, I don't think he's going to be ready for it, and obviously Dr. Phill is going to win.
I want to kind of go over some things before we're joined by Richie, obviously, because he has insisted that we not talk about alcohol while you're here, right?
Correct. Yes.
So why did you write in?
My dad has been watching your show for years. He records every single episode, but the day I actually wrote in, I had found him unresponsive, and I almost called 911. It just absolutely terrified me. Like, this might be the day that I find my dad gone.
So he actually sits, watches quietly, pays attention to the shows?
Yes.
Studies
them. And why does he do that?
because I think you're counseling him every day.
People at home don't know this, but I always ask people to send me a brief video when we start working with you before we do all of our interviews and everything, just so I can get a sense of everybody's personality and what the dynamics are. So we call them submission videos. So I ask each of you to give me like just a short video. And he had to review all of those before they were sent in, right? He had to screen them to make sure you didn't say anything about alcohol.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you did that, right?
Yes.
And then you sent in the real set, right? Did you all do that?
Yes.
Yes.
Here's a snippet of the real one.
Our dad has been battling alcoholism and depression for years now, and it has come to a point where his health is just at this precipice where he's either going to live or die. I just want him healthy, and I don't want my dad to die soon. I want him here.
All I want for him is to be able to get better.
You might be one of the only people that can genuinely get through to him.
Does he have a serious drinking problem, in your opinion?
Yes.
Any doubt?
No question.
He's recently been hospitalized.
Yes, for pancreatitis.
Well, pancreatitis. Okay, and this is a chronic pancreatitis, but with an acute attack. And this is alcohol-induced.
Yes.
Okay, and they told him on discharge, 0 alcohol, right? Because if you have that condition and then you drink on top of that, this can be fatal.
He stopped for 40 days and just started to look a little bit healthier, a little bit clearer in his mind. And then I went up to visit her in college, and he started drinking again.
He's going to come out, and we're going to talk about this. This is the time to stand strong. All right, next, from waking up in cold sweats, screaming, to feeling like he has no purpose in life, Richie is adamant the only thing he's here to discuss is his depression after leaving the game. Nothing else. Well, we're going to add him to the conversation after the break. We'll be right back. I don't know what you think is going on here. You're not going to intimidate me.
I didn't want to turn this into a fist fight up here.
And later, they're worried about you.
I do not believe Mackenzie's worried about me in any way, shape, or form.
Have you grabbed her by the throat?
I have never, ever grabbed her by the throat.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil.
Police in Phoenix hunt for a freeway shooter.
They said your gun was matched to the bullets found in those cars.
There's no way that's possible.
10 cops jump on you, take automatic rifles and point them at you and your 5-month-old daughter.
I still worry because if they've manufactured evidence once to arrest me, why would they not try and do this again?
They're saying we still believe he's the freeway shooter.
That's tomorrow.
My family can't even go out in public with my dad. My parents were out to dinner and they invited me to come stop by the restaurant. My dad got up to let me into the booth and he could barely stand. He had to use the table to hold himself up. I felt so bad for my mom because I know how painfully awkward it was for her.
When he's been drinking, he's just so unpredictable.
One time he picked up a full gallon of milk that was unopened and just threw it as hard as he could at my mom's head, and my mom ducked and it hit the wall. He's the ticking time bomb. We're going to find him dead if this continues.
Richie Lewis was a pitcher in the major leagues and adored by fans, but now his family say he's become a sloppy and belligerent drunk who may only have a year to live if he doesn't sober up. Now, before we bring him out, let's hear why he says the only opponent he's battling is depression after being forced to retire from the game he loves.
Ever since I retired from baseball, it's like, who am I? I'm holding this baseball right here for the interview because it gives me security. Beating this depression is by far the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. Yeah, I'm physically alive, but my spirit inside just died. I would rather face 9 Hall of Famers at the plate than to try to beat depression. Some nights I'll wake up screaming in cold sweats, and the dreams are always about baseball. My dad always told me not to put all my eggs in one basket, have a safety net for when the game is over. And I said, I'll be all right. I'm gonna make it, Dad. I was projected to be the #1 pitcher out of college to make it to the major leagues first. I finally made it to the major leagues. I was living my dream.
Here's the set and the 1-2 pitch. He swings, and this is at a high, hard one.
I put my whole life into baseball. In the first 6 years of my professional career, I had 4 surgeries. After the first surgery, that's when the depression really started. I feel like I'm on an island out in the cold. There is no way my family understands any of this, and all they see is me miserably depressed.
Well, Richie, good to meet you.
Feel like I've known you for 14 years.
Yeah? So you've been watching the show?
I have been.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, I love what you're doing with your hair, too.
Thank you. I got the memo.
Yeah.
Got the memo.
Yeah, birds of a feather.
That's right.
When you watch the show, do you learn stuff from it?
Absolutely. I learn from it, and I try to take, and incorporate it the best I can.
Yeah. You were just hospitalized, right?
I was.
What for?
They defined it as pancreatitis.
Mm-hmm. And why'd you have pancreatitis?
Well, I have a bunch of reasons. I think, I don't ever think it's just one thing. I think there's a myriad of things, quite frankly, with the surgeries and the scattered innings in between. After I had my first surgery, I'd be scared to tell you how much anti-inflammatories I was taking to be able to answer the bell. Aside from that, I know that drinking doesn't help any. That's not a good thing for that particular problem.
How much were you drinking leading up to the pancreatitis?
Frequently.
Physician's instructions were no alcohol. Are you compliant with that?
Well, first of all, that's not correct. I had 2 doctors that were assigned to me. One was a female and a male, and both of them had told me the same thing. And what they had told me was, you have to take at least a week off, but 2 would be better. So I just said, okay, and I just took 2 months off.
A week off of what?
From not drinking anything. And then I found out after prodding my wife, I said, because she kept telling me that's what the doctor told her, that's what the doctor told her. Well, it wasn't. It was from a nurse, not a doctor. But that's how it happened. So if we're going to be honest about it, that's how it happened.
Physician, not nurse, but physician discharge orders, no alcohol, because you had acute pancreatitis.
They said no alcohol, but they didn't say you can't drink the rest of your life. They said at least take a week and 2 would be better. That was the answer I got from both the attending physicians that directly worked with me at the hospital, and that's also the exact same answer that I got from my primary care physician.
I'm just telling you straight up, if they didn't tell you, let me tell you. I'm not a physician, but I've been working in this arena dealing with alcohol-related side effects for a long time. And I want to talk about your depression here, but because I understand that that's a big issue with you, and I want to deal with that. But there's no point in dealing with that if you're going to kill yourself with drinking. This will kill you.
Is that something, once you get an acute case, that means you have it for the rest of your life till you pass?
You're definitely vulnerable, absolutely.
Not
no
vulnerable
question.
is not what I ask. What I ask is that means it can't go away?
No, once you scar your pancreas, you're scarred.
I didn't ask that either.
But why would you even risk your life?
Wait a minute. No, you think I'm playing semantics with you? No, I'm not playing semantics with you. If you're asking me, can you get out of an acute flare-up? You can get out of an acute flare-up. But once you have scarred your pancreas is scarred. That means it cannot continue to process the alcohol that you pour on it because you have damaged it with scar tissue, so it cannot process it the way it could before you did that.
I'm not a drunkard. I'm a Christian man. Do I drink? Absolutely. And do I realize that some points I use that as a Band-Aid? Absolutely.
Are you self-medicating your depression?
On bad days, like I said, it's better out of 24 hours to have 1 hour or 2 hour where it at least relieves a little bit. It doesn't get rid of anything.
Sure.
And I realize that, in the end, it actually makes it worse, not better. So I get that. But when you're at the point and you're at the level where I'm at, in my opinion, that 2 hours during the course of 24, especially when you're not sleeping, you know what I mean? That's a big deal, man. Because, I can't live 24/7, 7 days a week, how I'm feeling. I can't do it anymore.
Well, it's my plan to fix all that. I have no intention of you living like this the rest of your life. That's not going to happen.
On bad days, where I've had bad days and I don't do anything to relieve anything, I'm hoping that I just don't wake up. Now, I wouldn't personally do anything. That's cowardice, and I just wasn't raised that way. I would never. However, that's what it feels like.
Well, let's take a break. Richie's children say that they are scared for their dad. They say they do see the emptiness in his eyes, and it scares them when he looks them in the eye and says that he really has no reason to live. We're going to talk about the impact of those words after the break. Did he threaten you when you got here?
He said, be careful what you say on that stage.
It's over. It's over. And later, Dion and I have been friends for a long time.
I'm broken right now, Dr. Phill. What I've been seeing today is a shell of what he is.
Richie only saw himself as a baseball player, and once the jersey was ripped off, he lost his identity. He will tell me that he does not want to live anymore.
Sometimes when I'm laying in bed, I think about my future, and it really upsets me to the point of tears when I think about my dad not being here for that.
I look at him and I'm like, you have such a beautiful, wonderful family. You have an absolutely stunning wife that's never given up on you and takes care of you like a freaking king, and you say you have nothing to live for. It breaks my heart.
Richie has gone from striking out some of the greatest baseball players of all time to breaking down in tears just watching highlights from those days gone past. He says his depression from being ripped from baseball is killing him and has had a major impact on his family. Did he threaten you when you got here?
What, verbally?
What did he say?
He said, whatever, make sure you be careful what you say on that stage.
I did.
You've been watching this show for 14 years. I do my homework. Trying to get something by me is like trying to smuggle sunrise by a rooster. It's not going to happen. Why do you not want him to talk about alcohol?
Well, because I, for one, think it's extremely hypocritical. For two, I think it's extremely judgmental, in particular some of the things that I've been browbeat down with and about, and the judgment and some of the name-calling, et cetera. And I didn't want to turn this into, a fist fight up here. I wanted to,
There's going to be a fist fight up here.
You know what I mean, though.
I know. Look, I'm trying to get you healthy. You say you don't have a degree. She doesn't have a degree. She doesn't have a degree. He doesn't have a degree. I got more degrees than a thermometer. I know what I'm doing.
Well, I don't mind you embarrassing me. I made
I'm
that
not here
choice,
to embarrass you.
But
Are you kidding
listen,
me?
Here's my point. By saying that, what I'm saying is I don't mind being embarrassed.
Okay? Why be embarrassed?
There's things that they would be embarrassed about, and I was trying to get around this without having to throw some of those out there.
Are y'all afraid of anything being said here? Is there anything you don't want said? Is there anything you're concerned about?
No.
Is there anything off limits?
No.
You got a green light from anybody, anything you want to talk about. You can intimidate her, him, whoever. You're not going to intimidate me to the point that I'm going to let you destroy your life, because you deserve better than that. I don't know what you think is going on here, but if you think that I'm going to let you come here and leave and continue to be depressed, continue to do whatever you're doing to destroy your life, you're worth more than that. I'm not going to let you do that. Do you not get that after watching me for 14 years? Once you get here, I am your worst and best nightmare. Listen, it's over. It's over. Get it? Come on. It's over. It's over. It's over. You've been self-medicating yourself with alcohol. You've been sitting there because your dream, your passion, your reason for being got ripped from you. It wasn't fair, but it got ripped from you, and you don't know how to get out of that mourning. You don't know how to get out of that grief, so you're doing the best you know how to do. Richie's family says his denial and refusal to admit he's an alcoholic is just adding to his demise. Take a look at this.
My dad will never admit that he has a problem.
He said, I will always drink. No one's going to get me to stop drinking.
He does not think he has a problem with alcohol.
If you say alcoholic, alcoholism, it's just World War II, the Hiroshima bomb dropped in our home.
He will minimize, deflect, and avoid anything when it comes to that subject. Richie blames me. He says that I've made this alcohol issue a bigger deal than it is. I haven't had a drink in 13 years. When I first stopped drinking, Richie was not happy about it. He said he lost his drinking buddy.
He will 100% deny he's an alcoholic.
There was one blatant lie.
What?
She said, what was it that you just
when
said?
I first stopped drinking.
Yeah, because all I did was praise the woman.
After.
I praised her. I congratulated her. First of all, she's never been my drinking buddy, barring an occasional charity event or social gathering of some sort. Never been my drinking buddy. And all I did was say, hey, good for you. If that's what you feel you need to do for yourself, then I'm proud of you. I couldn't be more proud of her. And I said that right when she told me that's the decision she had made.
Well, here's a text message that you sent to Andrea leading up to the show. Quote, I won't be made a spectacle of. Mackenzie will not take me down. So you know, I flat out told a producer today I won't go to a rehab center so they wouldn't waste our time. Since you're posturing yourself to hide behind Dr. Phill, I can't wait to get you on that stage. So I'm guessing war until then, question mark.
That's exactly what I said. And I meant every single word of it. This whole show is all about honesty, right? You want to throw it out there?
Yeah.
I do not think I'm an alcoholic.
You're self-medicating with alcohol.
Coming up.
I do not believe Mackenzie's worried about me in any way, shape, or form.
He blew up. He just snapped.
Have you grabbed her by the throat?
I have never, ever grabbed her by the throat.
Are you getting along with her?
Most of the time.
Are you getting along with her?
Usually not.
Are you getting along with her?
Usually all the time.
Are you getting along with him?
All the time.
Okay. They're worried about you. 4 people that are with you every day are worried about you.
I do not believe Mackenzie's worried about me in any way, shape, or form.
We asked her how she felt about you.
And that means that she's going to tell you the truth. Interesting.
Well, let's take a look.
All right.
My dad and I don't really talk. We don't have a relationship. My dad has told me to go myself. I hate you. You're such a bitch. Nobody wants to hear that from their dad.
Andrea has brainwashed our kids. Mackenzie jumped on the bandwagon and joined a side.
When my dad gets really angry with me, he'll send me these just nasty text messages. I have always been the target. It's always just made me really sad that my dad always seems to love my brother and my sister more than he loves me. My sister's an athlete, and I think, you know, deep down, he just appreciates my sister more. My brother's his only son, so that makes my dad appreciate my brother more. I'm just the that calls him out on everything.
You say she was brainwashed, and you're going to say she doesn't care about you, but yet she wanted to get you help, right?
The truth is, in one reality, you have no idea how much I appreciated her writing in, except for the method operation. I don't like people going behind my back. And yes, I've said some things to her, absolutely. And there is no excuse for those. Zero.
Have you grabbed her by the throat?
I have never, ever grabbed her by the throat.
When she was 12, you didn't grab her by the throat?
Absolutely not.
So what happened?
He was, you know, messing around, just harassing my brother in the doorway. My brother was brushing his teeth, and
I can remember that.
And he was little, and I wanted to defer the negative attention and put it on myself. And when I did, he blew up. He just snapped.
I've never put my hands on any of my children.
But you don't remember it. That's
my
the
wife
thing.
or anyone
Not
for that
the
matter.
way you are right now.
No,
Never. Dr. Phill,
obviously,
he's
I'm
the
not going to
most...
dive across the stage and tackle you. I've never, ever put my hands... Have I ever put my hands on you?
No, Dr. Phill,
Okay,
when he's
so-
in his right mind, he is the most gentle, loving man. Under the influence of alcohol, it's a whole different game.
That's so unfair and untrue. I'm the same guy. You decided to stop.
Do you change when you drink?
I do not.
Okay, well, here's a couple of snippets of you being recorded when you were drinking.
Okay.
I'm not going to sit there and listen to that and have somebody sit there and talk behind me when I'm not even in the freaking room. And you're scared, bro. I'm scared. Yeah, I'm not scared enough to punch you in the face.
Why would you talk to him like that?
This is how Andrea says Richie commonly speaks about Mackenzie to the rest of the family.
She's trying to take me down. I hate her. I can't stand her. I'm telling you right now, as I sit here, I'm done with her.
I did say that.
You're talking about your daughter.
Sad, isn't it?
It's very sad.
And this was right after...
You can't tell me that's how you really feel.
No, I don't. The love, the blood, that I do.
Yeah, but love has action
I
to
don't
it.
like her. I don't like her because she's the most entitled, narcissistic, selfish child that I have ever been around. And this was right after...
Well, hell, you raised her.
I tried to raise her and got undermined. There's a difference.
I've had a job since I was 15 years old. I pay for college on my own.
That's not true.
That is so entirely true.
No, your mom used to send you money every month.
When I was at the university, I had 4 jobs at one point. I've never felt entitled, ever in my whole life.
When he would talk about Mackenzie, it was almost like he would be talking about himself.
When we come back, I've got what I think is an outcome determinative, life-changing question for Richie after the break.
Coming up.
They say the police have been called 20 times.
No way. 20 times. I would say you couldn't count them on one hand.
tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil.
They said your gun was matched to the bullets found in those cars.
There's no way that's possible.
They're saying we still believe he's the freeway shooter.
That's tomorrow.
My dad will drive when he's drinking. It is amazing to me that my father has no DUIs. My dad definitely thinks that he's invincible. He thinks he can just drink forever and everything's going to be okay. And I don't think that he's come to terms with the fact that it's just not going to be okay.
I don't know if you've noticed, but I've basically kind of been defending you here a lot. I don't know if you've noticed that. I've been saying you're not an evil guy. You're not a bad guy. You're not, I mean, they're saying you're doing bad things, and I'm saying that may be, but you're not a bad person. I think I know what's going on with you. But you lack insight here. You're not able to see because of the depression, because of the alcohol, whatever. I don't know. You don't have an ability to see yourself the way you would see someone else. You've watched probably 2,400 Dr. Phil shows. What would you be saying right now if you were watching a show and I was talking to Bob right now? What would you be saying about Bob if he was saying everything you're saying right now?
Denial, but I don't believe that's the case.
That's right, because you don't have insight.
I don't live my life as a drunkard.
Yeah. Here's what they say about your drinking according to them. They say around 3 o'clock you start drinking. They say the police have been called 20 times.
No way.
Back in 2007?
20 times. I would say you couldn't count them on one hand. That's how big a difference this is. That's
okay.
Have you been drunk at high school graduations?
No.
Have you been drunk at Mariah's soccer game?
No.
Were you drunk at Christmas to the point that you couldn't open gifts?
No.
Were you passed out in a lawn chair at Halloween?
I certainly was. That's the last time I can remember getting drunk. But yes, I was. I most certainly was.
You failed at alcohol rehab?
I've never been to alcohol rehab in my entire life.
Dr. Phil is going to say it was for depression.
The rehab place said it was for depression.
Yeah, they thought it was for alcohol.
Because I told them if it's going to be turned into this direction, then I'm not going to go. I'm not going to waste your time.
Did you go on a double date and fall over your head in a plate?
No, I don't recall that. That's my answer.
None of this stuff's happened. Police haven't been called?
No, the police have not been called 20 times. That's an out and outright lie. The Halloween I admitted to, that's true.
Did your father beg you to stop drinking on his deathbed?
Not his deathbed, no. He was concerned about it, yes, is my answer. If you want me to quit drinking, just tell me and I'll quit. It's not that big a deal. But I'm just not gonna be railroaded. I'm not gonna be overtaken by someone who has ulterior motives.
You say, you want me to quit drinking? I can quit drinking. Okay, I want you to quit drinking.
Okay.
Quit drinking.
Okay.
Stop. Don't ever take another drink.
Got it.
Do you need Dr. Phil's help? Text Phill to 88500 and share your story for a chance to appear on the show. Standard message and data rates may apply.
We can't do this show without you, our studio audience.
If you are going to be in the Los Angeles area and you would like free tickets, go to drphil.com and click on Be in the Audience.
Because we have a lot of fun here, don't we?
Or you can call 323-461-PHIL. That's 323-461-7445.
I think there's no doubt, in my opinion, this is just based on what I've seen and heard. I haven't done a thorough diagnosis of you, but I'm telling you, I do think that you have a chronic depression right now. I think that chronic depression is what is endogenous. It's coming from the inside out. It's not reactive. At this point, it's coming from the inside out. I think that in addition to that, you have a problem with alcohol, and I don't know whether you're addicted or whether you're not, but I think that you have an alcohol dependency because you are self-medicating. And what happens when you have this and this, then what has happened is you have hijacked the pleasure centers in your brain. You say, oh, I can quit. You want me to just tell me, you want me to quit drinking?
Well, ask them. They'll tell you.
You say, you want me to quit drinking? I can quit drinking. Okay, I want you to quit drinking.
Okay.
Quit drinking.
Okay.
Stop. Don't ever take another drink.
Got it.
That won't fix your problem.
I didn't think so because I'm smart enough to have tried that one.
Yeah.
I turned every stone over. I think you read that in your notes.
Yeah. You've got a situation here that, as you know, is known as dual diagnosis. You've got comorbidity here. These things are so intertwined that until you unravel all of this, I could treat your depression and you could keep drinking and it wouldn't fix the problem. You could quit drinking and not deal with your depression and it wouldn't fix the problem. I want you to go into treatment. I want you to go into a dual diagnosis treatment program. And I want you to go to a psychoneuroplasticity center and get your brain where it needs to be. I want you to do a multi-stop treatment plan here. I want you to go to the P&P Center in Dallas. I want to get your brain scanned. I want to get everything figured out neurologically. I want you to go to a dual diagnosis treatment center that deals with alcohol, deals with depression, deals with anxiety. I want you to have a life coach. I want you to declare some things. I want you to figure out what you want to do.
That's how I let my dad down, and I blame nobody but myself.
Well, but you've only let your dad down if you quit while you're behind.
This is it. This is that bottom of the ninth. You got to do this.
Ready to get real? Go to drphil.com for advice on relationships, parenting, finances, and more. Plus, weigh in on your favorite episodes, share your stories, and find support in the Dr. Phil community. When you sign up for the community, you will automatically be subscribed to the Dr. Phil Show newsletter. Log on to drphil.com today. You know, Richie has touched a lot of people throughout his playing career, including my next guest. This is someone who has known Richie for a long time. He's had to put it together after sports also. And he says back in the day, this guy was a stud on the mound. He had a big personality. He loved to make people laugh. When he heard Richie wasn't laughing so much anymore, I called him because he's a friend of mine as well. He dropped everything to be here today. Please welcome my friend and Richie's college teammate, roommate in the NFL and Major League Baseball superstar, Deion Sanders.
I love you, man. Oh, dude.
It's okay. Got you, baby.
I love you, man.
Y'all have a seat. Deion and I have been friends for a long time, and when we called him and told him you were coming here and that you were struggling, depression stuck in your life, and said you needed some help, he said, just tell me when. I'll be there.
I'm broken right now, Dr. Phil. Because I know what he is. He don't understand what he meant to me. He was the best pitcher in the country. He was the life of the team. What I've been seeing today is a shell of what he is. This is it. This is that bottom of the ninth, man. They calling you out the pen. You got to do this. You got to do this.
I'm blessed to be here.
I was raised by an alcoholic father. I know when your dad is subject to being drunk, I know what that's like. I know you don't bring your friends home. You don't bring your friends home because you don't know what you're going to find when you open the door. I brought friends home one time in the 6th grade in Denver, Colorado in February, and my dad was asleep on the driveway in his underwear with his pillow, and it was 24 degrees out. And I walk up with 6 friends. You know, what do you say to your friends? I get that. And I know this. It takes 1,000 attagirls to erase one of those, you're a worthless bitch. I know that. I know it takes 1,000 attaboys to erase one of those, I want to punch you in the face. But I also know that you know in your heart that there's 2 different realities to who he is. And what I'm asking you to do is to take a leap of faith based on what I'm telling you. I want you to go to the P&P Center and get a neurological workup in your brain. I want you to go to Origins, which is an alcohol rehabilitation center. It's not a depression rehabilitation center. It's an alcohol rehabilitation center, but it is a dual diagnosis treatment center. They deal with depression, confounded by alcohol, and really confounded by the neurological aspects of what's going on in your brain. T.J. Howard is here. He's the director of Origins Behavioral Center. Say hello, T.J.
Right here.
I've already talked to Dr. Frank Lawless at the P&P Center. This is our gift to you. Deal? Deal?
Any visitors in Dallas?
Fair enough. We got a deal? Yeah. Dion?
Appreciate
Thank you,
man.
I appreciate it. I want to thank all my guests today. A very special thanks to Deion Sanders for coming here today and supporting his man, Richie. Also, thanks to T.J. Howard and Origins Behavioral Health Care and Frank Lawless at the P&P Center. We'll see you next time.
Dr. Phill.
My dad sent money to a woman in Mexico that he had an affair with.
He steals from family, friends, and strangers.
Nearly $2 million.
She had to have a lung transplant.
You paid for the lung. So she just showed up to a clinic with a lung in an igloo cooler, said, I'm here to get a transplant. She's had brain cancer 5 times?
7 times.
You think maybe she's lied to you? Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
I try to be an emotional compass and point you in the right direction.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you.
Death threats from Mexican businessmen, black market organs for sale, tens of thousands of dollars in extortion money paid, and more than 100 trips back and forth to Mexico. It's an unbelievable story that has this sweet-looking grandpa trapped in what his daughters believe is an outrageous international scam. So who's the alleged mastermind behind this multi-million-dollar mystery? Well, according to Maurice's daughters, it's his former Mexican mistress. Take a look.
My dad sent money to a woman in Mexico that he had an affair with. He has sent her over $1.5 million.
My dad is obsessed with Josefina.
An extreme obsession.
He met her at a hotel that he was staying at.
She was the maid there. It just blows my mind.
I have never met her. I have never spoken with her. My dad said that because he only had sex with her twice, it is not an affair.
We believe Josephina is conning our dad, absolutely.
Josefina has told my father many times that she's dying.
I believe Josephina is truly sick. She may not live. It's a matter of life and death.
So she started by asking my dad for money for a lung transplant. Then the lung apparently didn't take. Then she stored that lung to then resell it to someone else. That's totally black market. So clearly she's a criminal. The lung story is preposterous. We have told my father how it's not even medically possible. Then she traded that lung to get ownership of a ranch.
She's told my dad that she's eventually going to sell and then pay him back.
She promised a huge payout.
There's no doubt in my mind that she's telling me the truth.
This whole situation is just shocking and bizarre. My dad believes that he is saving Josephina's life.
My dad hasn't seen her for at least 13 years.
My dad hasn't even spoken to a doctor or seen her medical bills.
She hooked him somehow. I think she is holding something over him.
I look at her as the scum of the earth.
This awful woman that just is mocking my father.
I want Josefina out of his life. She's ruined his life. She's ruined our lives.
This woman has torn our family apart.
Well, but now Maurice's daughters insist their father has gone from being conned to being a con man himself. They say he's lying, stealing, and taking money from innocent people to give to this former lover.
My father has preyed on a lot of innocent people. His whole life is consumed by getting this woman money.
My dad would tell them that he needed the money to help this dying woman in Mexico.
He just finds those perfect victims. My father is a manipulator. He's a thief. My dad is financially ruined so many people's lives. Destroyed some marriages, torn families apart. I talked to a man my dad owed $20,000 to. He had taken out a personal loan. And his wife has Alzheimer's. He said that he doesn't have money to pay for her medical care.
There was one family from church that gave my dad their entire life savings.
Someone from my sister's church confronted her and said, if I met your dad in a back alley, I can't promise what would happen to him. And at least 10 people had confessed to him that they had given him money as well.
He's violated such an intimate trust there. I feel terrible when I hear the stories. I wish I had the money to pay these people back. I don't want him to hurt one more person.
Well, this is just a hell of a mess, right? Yeah, well, it gets worse. Because this dad has 7 children, and they claim that he has also victimized them.
My dad doesn't just prey on innocent people. He has preyed upon his own family.
He took money from me and each of my sisters.
One of my sisters gave my dad $40,000. He called her and said that literally if that money was not wired to him immediately, that he would be killed.
He has gone to a few of my sisters telling them I'll be arrested or some men in Mexico are going to come after me.
I had a business with my sister and my dad. My dad was able to steal $200,000 because my name was on the business and my sister's name was on the business. We went down with him.
He's destroyed their credit. They lost their homes. They lost their cars.
I went into a deep, dark depression. It's a place you kind of never want to go. At the time, it was heartbreaking. It was the greatest betrayal. Now my mom is packing up her home because my parents' house is in foreclosure. Just need a minute. My dad has broken our family.
My dad has no shame.
He literally does not care about any of us.
Okay. You were in business together.
Yeah, I probably suffered the most financially, yeah.
Just bottom line, how much do you think he stole from you, just straight up?
That I know of is about $200,000. You know, we lost a house, lost a car.
Take me through the moment that you realized my father has stolen my money and given it to some woman in Mexico to the point that I am losing my home. That's the moment I want to go through.
Yeah, I mean,
what
I
happened?
like rage and anger and how could you possibly do this and think it was okay? But the thing is, you can't, there was no reasoning.
And you've not spoken to him in 2 years.
Right. People were coming to us saying he owed them money. We didn't know what it was about. And we knew there was just more to this story, and so we kind of stormed into his house and told him it's time to come clean. He came clean about some of it, as much as he was willing to, and told us about, you know, this woman, this money that he'd given to her. That was the point when I said, you know what, this is it. That was 2 years ago, and that was the last time I spoke to my father.
Karina, you had his phone for a few days.
Mm-hmm.
What happened when you had his phone?
All day long, there's phone calls, text messages, asking where's my money, where's my money.
Which one of you got the death threat against your father for $40,000?
She's not here.
She's not here. And he actually called her and told her that she didn't personally get the death threat, but he called her and told her.
Then he'll have this fear in his eyes,
yeah,
like,
and
if I don't get this money, something bad is going to happen to me, you know, and you don't want to fall for it, but you don't want your dad to be killed.
Right.
I mean, he pulls out all the stops.
By the way, he's married to your mother.
Right.
And she's now losing her house.
Right.
Because he's giving money to this woman.
Right.
Next 19 years of secrets, 2 Mexican mistresses, and nearly $2 million just handed away. Why did Maurice's wife continue to turn a blind eye to her husband's secret life south of the border? Well, I'm going to ask her. She's here. We're going to add her to the conversation after the break.
He has become a pathological liar. He is dishonest to the very core. The day that I found out that my husband Maurice had an affair with this woman, my whole world was turned upside down. She has conned him. How anybody can be at death's door for 13 years. She is such a medical miracle.
And later, you believe this woman just showed up at a clinic with a lung in an igloo cooler or something and said, I need a lung transplant, and I got the lung.
That's basically what happened.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phill, torn between her city husband and her country boyfriend.
You had an affair and convinced him you were the victim.
I didn't do it on purpose.
The two men meet for the first time.
Julie, sit wherever you feel like you should.
Will she choose her boyfriend?
You were taking your child to go see your lover.
Or her husband?
What gives you the right to be with this man's wife?
Then on Thursday, exclusive, the secret audio tapes of former Subway spokesman Jared Fogle.
I had this little boy. It was amazing. It just felt so good. I mean, it felt so good.
Only on Dr. Phill, Thursday.
I think my mom looked the other way for many years as far as my dad's behavior.
My mother is enabling him by turning a blind eye.
My mom tends to bury her head in the sand and pretend that nothing bad is happening.
We had an intervention a couple years ago and told my mom, if you don't leave him, then we will walk away from you for a while.
I honestly don't know why she has stayed.
Well, secret phone calls in Spanish and hundreds of trips over the border. Maurice's double life has his 7 daughters convinced that a bizarre scam concocted by his former mistress has turned their father into a con man and their mother into his protector and enabler. Now, before we speak with the matriarch of this beautiful family, let's hear what she has to say about her partner of nearly 50 years.
My husband Maurice has torn apart my family. My children have just been absolutely devastated. He has used them over and over. My daughters all feel like they've lost their father. Their hearts have been broken. He has become a pathological liar. He is dishonest to the very core of his being. That's really hard and sad for me to say that. My utilities have been turned off. My internet gets turned off. Frequently, my phone gets turned off. The day that I found out that he had an affair with this woman, my whole world was turned upside down and inside out. I felt worthless. I felt like a failure. This is someone I trusted with my entire life. I have absolutely no doubt she has conned him. If I saw her, I probably would scratch her eyes out. How anybody can be at death's door for 13 years. She is such a medical miracle. If she's really ill, let her die.
I'm glad to meet you, and I'm really sorry for the circumstance. I'm just so sorry. I hate it for you. This has been going on for 19 years, right? You now know.
Apparently,
Well,
yeah.
you didn't know that then, of course, but you know it now.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this?
Devastated, angry at myself, angry at my husband, at this woman.
Along the way, he also had another woman, right?
Yes.
And that's when you found out that he has a daughter.
Yes.
Y'all have a half-sister.
Yeah. Yes.
In Mexico. Did you know about that at all? Were you?
Not until 2 years ago.
You had to be shocked.
Oh, yes, I was.
What did you say to him when you found out he was shipping money off to this woman? Let's go back to the other woman, the one that's got the revolving lungs. And what did he tell you about it?
She had to have a lung transplant.
Okay, so she got a lung.
Yes.
And where'd she get
and
the lung?
he paid for it. I'm assuming
he bought her a lung.
On the black market, I'm assuming.
It didn't take.
So they took it out and they put in another lung.
Okay.
But they kept the first one.
Where did they keep it?
In some kind of machine. In Mexico, they have the ability to keep organs alive.
That's what we're told.
And so then that lung was put into another woman, and her husband paid for it with a ranch.
So it's like a swap meet.
Yes.
So we'll give you a ranch for this lung.
Yeah.
But it worked for the second woman.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, but now, so she has the ranch, so they need to sell the ranch to pay for the lung.
Right.
You know what's wrong with you people? Seriously, you know what's wrong with you people?
What?
Absolutely nothing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you people. That's the problem.
Right.
You, all five of you, are normal, healthy, loving, caring, adjusted people. Your mind can't go to the places that sick, demented people's mind go, so it's hard to see that coming. Because your mother, you've been put out of your house because of this. You're now going to be put out of your house, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And what are you going to do?
Well, I'm going to have to go find a job in a small apartment and go on with life.
And kind of start over making your own
Yes.
way. Let's take a break. Next, trading a lung for a ranch, selling organs on the black market, and being held hostage in a south of the border hospital. Maurice insists that his former mistress, Josefina, is on death's door. Apparently for a long time she's been on death's door. He says he needed all of the money he took from friends, family, and even a stranger at a gas station in order to save her life. Boy, do I have some questions for dear old Dad. Well, he's here, and we're going to meet him next. We'll add him to the conversation right after the break. So she just showed up lung in hand to a clinic, said, I'm here to get a transplant, and I've got my lung with me. And later...
She doesn't have money, so she's not actually in a hospital room.
Well, she doesn't need it. She can
I
get
know,
health
I'm
care.
just saying,
They
she's
have
on like the back
universal health care.
patio.
Is that outdoors?
Yeah, that's outdoors.
She's just sleeping next to the hospital.
I am very in love with Kit Moore.
She's already married.
She wanted a divorce.
But obsessed with a country star.
He signed your back?
I got it tattooed.
You're serving your husband with a restraining order, and you've got "Marry Me, Kit Moore" painted on your window? What are you, 12?
Is his daughter's survivalist boyfriend
Did he kidnap your daughter?
He did. No.
a threat to his family?
She asked me to come get her.
You're lying.
I'm lying? Why don't you shut the hell up? I'm not going to shut my mouth. If I didn't think I'd go to jail for it, I would go across this 3 feet of floor right here, and I'd take his damn head off.
This November. Then on Thursday, the former Subway sandwich king.
He told me how he would get children.
How to gain their trust.
The secret tapes that catch him talking about child sex.
I had this little boy. This was amazing.
No one has heard this.
It just felt so good. I felt felt so good.
Until now.
Sometimes you learn the most. The young girls or the young boys?
Both of them do. Both of them.
Only on Dr. Phill. Thursday.
Nearly $2 million gone and multiple families desperate for answers and their hard-earned money back. Where did all the money go? Now, to my guest, Maurice's former mistress in Mexico, who his family believes is conning their dad into believing that she is dying, and her only hope of survival is him paying for the life-saving medical care she needs. Now, Maurice disagrees and insists that she is sick and he will get his money back. Take a look.
I met Josefina nearly 18 years ago in Mexico. I had a 3-month affair with her. I'd already had an affair with another woman. I didn't think it was a big deal. 3 or 4 months after I came back to the United States, she told me that she had lung cancer. She said she needed a transplant. That's how it all started. I've been sending her money to keep her alive. I haven't seen her in 13 years. She promised that she would return all the money. I borrowed my money from my children. I said I was going to pay them back with interest. I did steal $200,000 from my daughter, Delane. Josefina needs $675 to get out of the clinic. If she could just get out, she would reimburse everybody. It'd be foolish to stop now.
Now, before we add Maurice to the conversation, I wanted to ask all of you at home on Twitter if you believe Maurice is being taken advantage of. Tweet hashtag Dr. Phill yes or hashtag Dr. Phill no. And if you want to join today's conversation, just tweet hashtag Dr. Phill, hashtag money to mistress, and you can join this conversation. So Maurice, come on out. Maurice, Dr. Phill.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you, sir. Have a seat if you would.
Thank you.
Maurice, I'll just jump right into it. I've been here talking with 4 of your beautiful daughters and your wife, Linda. They feel lied to. They feel betrayed, that you have stolen money from them to the point that she's lost her home. She's losing her home. Do you deny that, or is that true?
I think that happened.
I want to see if I understand the timeline of this right. So in 1996, Maurice and Josefina meet, and you begin a 3-month affair in Mexico. And in 2000, Josefina calls Maurice and says she has lung cancer and needs a transplant. Why call you 4 years later and say, I need a lung transplant?
Well, because she didn't have anybody to go to.
Where'd you get the lung?
She went down to Veracruz to receive that lung, and
on the black market?
Yes.
So you paid for acquiring the lung. So she just showed up lung in hand to a clinic, said, I'm here to get a transplant, and I've got my lung with me.
Yeah, that's basically what happened.
You believe this woman just showed up at a clinic with a lung in an igloo cooler or something and said, I need a lung transplant, and I got the lung, and this clinic just had a transplant team just happened to be standing by in Mazatlan?
No, the doctor was the one that put the whole thing together.
Shockingly, it didn't take. So Josefina decides to store the lung.
She stored it for about 2 weeks.
Like at the house?
No, not at the house.
Where'd she store it?
At the clinic right there, and that's what happened.
And then she finds another lung, and you help her pay for the second lung and transplant. So she says, okay, now I got an extra lung.
Yeah.
So she sells it.
Right.
So that's when they swap the ranch. Once they don't have the cash, but I've got a ranch, I'll trade you for the ranch worth $1 million.
That's right.
But despite the new lung, she's too sick to sell the ranch.
Well, she was too sick to do right immediately, yeah.
She's also had brain cancer?
Yes.
5 times?
7 times.
7 times. 7 brain cancers.
She survived that.
And then in 2002, the lung recipient died.
Mm-hmm. She gave it back to her.
Josefina sells the lung on the black market for $2.7 million.
2.2.
2.2 million bucks. But she says she can't pay you back.
She got the money, and the money went into a bank, and it's there frozen.
Why is it frozen?
Because of the amount of money. It's too much money.
I didn't know you could have too much money. She has too much money. You have a computer, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever check on these sort of things?
Yeah.
Because just before I walked over this morning, I just thought, you know what? I think I'll just Google up and see what a lung costs on the black market.
And what'd you find?
In China, you can get one for an average of about $23,000. In Europe, it was even less. In Mexico, they didn't really have much of a selection.
Yeah, I know.
I even looked on eBay. And they just didn't have anything. Maurice's family says he doesn't even remember the names of people they claim he's victimized. Well, but I have a list, and we're going to see what his thoughts and feelings are about this. We'll be right back. This wasn't the only relationship you had in Mexico, right?
No.
Do you have a second family?
It was a miserable time in our family.
It hurt. It wasn't fun to realize that.
Embarrassed, mad, just disappointed.
When we found out that my mom knew, it felt like an enormous betrayal.
This wasn't the only relationship you had in Mexico, right?
No.
Do you have a second family in Mexico?
I've got one in Ensenada.
A daughter?
19-year-old.
And did you raise her?
No.
Have you been supporting her?
Yeah.
So you've been paying money there and to Josefina?
Yeah. I decided that 2 weeks ago I was going to cut it off completely and not have any contact with her.
But that's, I mean, that's not entirely true.
We took his phone
so he couldn't call her. Yeah. And he actually left my house twice trying to go call her, like walk to a gas station.
I went to the bank to get the money that had come in.
And what were you going to do with that money?
Well, I was going to give it to my wife.
No, that's not true
you
at all.
weren't.
No, that's not true at all. I had to have him hand it over to me so I could count it. And he was not going to give any of it to my mother.
Look, if we have any hope here, one thing we got to do is be just completely honest. I mean, at this point, what the hell? Yeah. I mean, you got a second family in Mexico. You shipped nearly $2 million to Josefina. Wasn't your theory that they weren't going to let her out of the hospital if she didn't pay him some money?
Yeah.
You know what she told you?
Yeah.
So in Mexico, you don't pay, you don't go.
That's right.
So they keep you there.
That's right. They keep you there.
So you needed to give her money so she could get out.
That's what happened.
You do know that Mexico has universal health care, right? So she's got you and the government paying for her to go to the hospital.
Well, and she's not even actually going to have a room.
Pardon me?
She doesn't check in because she doesn't have money, so she's not actually in a hospital room.
Well, she doesn't need it. She can get health care.
I'm just saying, she's on like the back patio.
This is the story.
This is the story. She's like not even in an actual room, so we can't call her to find out what room number she's in. She's out in a separate area for people who can't pay. I mean, this is how ridiculous it is. But he just makes
can't
up.
Reason with him.
I mean, you can't reason with him.
She's in a patio room?
Yes, literally.
Is that?
No, she's behind the clinic.
Is that outdoors?
Yeah, that's outdoors. In a patio.
So patio.
And it's cold, and she has no sweater or shoes because she's so poor.
So she's at a hospital.
Not in the hospital.
But not in the hospital. She's just sleeping next to the hospital.
Well, yeah, because the back end is enclosed. She's able to stay right there with the hope of getting the money.
And he believes this.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
That's
what do you do with that?
Anything she...
Okay, well, this is just an example of one money transfer service that Maurice has used to pay for this kind of explanation. It sent anywhere between $150 and $990 nearly every day for the entire year. The money transfers from just this company totaled $105,134.01. That's just from one company.
Right.
So where does he get all of this money? Well, I made a chart. This is just according to Maurice, and I'm not even sure he knows for sure. He has taken his family for $500,000. He's taken $500,000 of his own money out of his account with he and his wife. He's gotten $3,500 from one guy, $2,700 from another, $3,000 this guy, an investor, $100,000. Mexican businessman, $40,000, $2,700 to Greg, $20,000 to a friend, $12,000 from a church member, $40,000 from another church member, $60,000 from a friend, 5 strangers totaling $300,000. Another stranger for $500. This was the one at the gas station, I think. Church elder, undisclosed amount. 6 church members. All of this, and when it's all added up, that totals to $1,464,400. And that's just what we've been told.
Right, right.
There's no question that's not the bottom.
Right. No.
It is not in the realm of possibility.
Do you believe what he's telling you?
Well, I don't believe it.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phill, torn between her husband and her childhood crush.
You had an affair and convinced him you were the victim.
I didn't do it on purpose.
No, come on.
That's tomorrow.
Joining us now is Dr. Pat Basu. He is the Chief Medical Officer of Doctor on Demand, which is the company that Jay and I have that you've heard us talk about. Now, Dr. Basu has served as a White House Fellow. Prior to that, he served as Course Director of Health, Policy, and Economics at Stanford University. You've been listening to everything. What do you think of Josefina's claims when it comes to all of this lung manipulation? I mean, is this even remotely possible?
It's not possible at all.
Step up here, because I want to be sure that he can hear you clearly and concisely. You just take my chair here.
Sure.
Just take my chair so you can speak directly to Maurice, if you would. Maurice, this is Dr. Pat Basu.
Nice to meet you.
So, is it possible what she's telling him is true?
There is no way this story is possible. And I should maybe just clear something up, because there's this talk about the black market, which does exist. But even in that case, it is not just a box of old organs that's lying around. There is no sort of black market box where they just sit there. Whether it's legal or the black market, that transplant has to be done in this very small window, or the lung itself will perish.
Okay, so what is the chance that she could go to Veracruz, get this lung, bring it back up to some clinic, some doctor does the transfer, it doesn't take, so she takes it out, puts another one in, saves this one for 3 weeks in a cooler or something at the clinic where they keep spare body parts, apparently, for 3 weeks, and then sell it again to or swap it for a ranch or whatever. What's the chance of that happening 3 weeks later?
Yeah, Maurice, I have to tell you, the chance of that is 0. There is no single aspect of that story is possible, let alone the entire chain of events. It is just entirely not possible in any universe.
Do you believe what he's telling you?
Well, I don't believe it.
You don't believe which?
I don't believe what he's saying. It happens down in Mexico, and it's...
Yeah, you cannot revive the lung once it is dead. There is a window of 6 hours, And even in that window, by the time it's getting there, the lung is literally perishing. It cannot be revived. It cannot be reused in that capacity at all.
Well, I don't know how that happens then.
Well, it doesn't.
Huh?
It doesn't.
It doesn't happen.
It does. Yeah. I do know that the lung was 3 months in a container.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so you think because she said that the laws of physics, the laws of science, the laws of medicine are suspended because of what she said. It just becomes true for her, but not for anybody else.
Well, I know that the lung was for 3 months until it was transferred.
The lung was outside the body for 3 months and then put back in.
It's in a container. They have some type of solution in Mexico. And they have, I know, doctor,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
This doesn't even make you think maybe she's lied to you?
No.
Okay. All right, listen, that's very important for me to hear. That's very important for me to hear. It helps me, that informs me to help inform you. Okay, next, there is one key person missing from this conversation. That's Josefina herself. I'm going to ask Maurice to give her a call after the break. Let's see if she answers from the back porch of the hospital. We'll be right back. We'll now dial the international number, and I would like to ask her a few questions if you could translate for me.
Do you need Dr. Phil's help? Text Phill to 88500 and share your story for a chance to appear on the show. Standard message and data rates may apply.
If you are going to be in the Los Angeles area and you would like free tickets, go to drphil.com and click on Be in the Audience.
Or you can call 323-461-PHIL. We've talked a lot about Josefina, Maurice's former mistress. So I think it's time to try and add her to the conversation. So we are going to call her cell phone. We'll now dial the international number, and I would like to ask her a few questions too, if you could translate for me.
Después del tono, grabe su mensaje. Marque la tecla gato cuando termine.
It was a message that said, you know,
go through?
Yeah.
We'll just keep trying while we keep talking. So you don't believe Dr. Basu? We actually hired a private investigator in Mexico to learn a little bit. To learn a little bit more about Josefina, because you say she's just all alone and nobody to call but you, and you say you're helping her because she has no family. Well, actually, the private investigator did find her, and they found that her parents are still very much alive, that she has multiple siblings, and in fact, the phone that she talks to you on is actually billed to her sister, and at the same address.
I don't believe it.
He was also able to find information about Josefina's ranch. There's no property in her name at all. No ranches even located in that area in anybody's name. So the ranch she says that she's traded for is not in her name, is not in anybody else's name, and where she says the ranch exists, there are no ranches in that area at all, period, zip, zero, nada, yet no ranches.
Well, I don't know where you're getting your information.
Because yours is so reliable, right, Dad?
I mean, you can get on an airplane, you can go down there and find out. We got the address. We walk you right up the front door and knock. You can go to this hospital, room 103. She is not there. She is not there. That was actually inside the hospital. It wasn't on the patio. It's inside the hospital. Ranch. No ranch.
No, she was only
doesn't exist. Lungs that live for more than 6 hours. Nowhere on the globe does that happen, ever, period. These are facts. These are not opinions. These are not matters of, I see it one way and you see it another, tomato, tomato, potato, potato. These are facts. How many doctors do I need to line up to tell you you can't keep a lung alive for more than 4 to 6 hours?
I don't know, because, you know, that lung is alive for 3 months. Yeah.
Okay, next, where do Maurice and his family go from here? Well, I'm going to tell all of these women what I think needs to happen after the break. Want to know what's coming up on Dr. Phil? Visit our website and subscribe to our email newsletter. You'll get weekly updates, life strategies, and exclusive video that you won't find anywhere else.
Plus, on drphil.com, you can see sneak previews of upcoming shows. Log on today.
Before we go on, earlier in the show, I asked my Twitter followers if they believe Maurice is being taken advantage of, and the results are in. 54% say yes, 46% say no. I'll tell you why I think it's 50-50, because they're focusing on him as being a perpetrator of all of you and all of these innocent people we had up here, as much as they are of him being a victim by her. I'm going to talk about you like you're not here for a minute, okay?
Go ahead.
And I mean, no disrespect, but I have to be candid about this. I've not evaluated your father long-term or historically. All I can tell you is where I see him now. And, you know, I spent a lot of time doing this kind of thing back when I had a real job and was in private practice. Part of my training was in forensic psychology, where I was often worked as an officer of the court to make determinations of sanity, person's ability to conduct their own affairs, things of that nature. It's obvious that he has constructed a delusional system here. And when you try to crack the delusional system, the walls come up. And at that point, this person is not able to separate fantasy and reality. Okay? So those lines are blurred. I think you can go to any court in the land and get a conservatorship appointed. So he cannot get himself bankrupt, so he cannot get himself exploited further, so he cannot conduct business and take other people's money. The first thing I would like to do is offer Maurice a chance to go and have himself evaluated at the Lawless PvP&P Center in Dallas, to have him really looked at and see if there are neurological issues here, if there are psychological issues here that have him caught in a loop that he just can't get out of, and see if we can maybe do some things diagnostically and break that up for him. And also joining us is my really good friend, Miles Adcox. He is the owner and CEO of OnSite. And OnSite is the worldwide leader in intensive workshops and treatment for those that suffer from emotional trauma and mental health issues. Do you agree he's delusional here?
Yes. Yeah.
Would you take the help that I'm offering you to get some evaluation done and focus on yourself and get some professional help with this?
Yeah.
I really think it would be helpful to you. When you finish at OnSite, I'm also going to set Maurice up with ongoing therapy after he leaves here today. You know, at Doctor On Demand, we also have an extensive network of board-certified doctor-level psychologists that can see patients on the Doctor On Demand app from the comfort of your own house. You don't have to get in the car and drive to the therapist office. It's easier, it's cheaper, and in my opinion, every bit as effective. And for those of you at home that want to, you can download the Doctor On Demand app at Google Plays or the App Store. I want to thank all of my guests today. I want to give a special thanks to Dr. Pat Basu, Dr. Lawless, and the P&B Center, as well as Miles Adcock and OnSite for offering to help Maurice and the family as well. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.